Yeah, and so I was talking to him the other day, and I was right, and he was right. I think Castro was right to lock up the gays, and so we carried on from there. Are we live?
So, yes, welcome
Oh, hey.
everybody to Fireside Chat numero 49.
I think we were just trolled.
See.
Usually that's my job. Usually
With-
I'm the one that's trying to fuck Brian up, but you did it well, Rags. You did it well.
Oh, oh, good. That's what I'm here for.
That's
Is
right.
that what I look like?
Yeah,
That's me.
yeah, that might be.
I got my money bling.
Yeah.
This is why people think I'm a furry. This right here. This is why. This right
Because
here.
you're in a cast with a whole bunch of furries now.
No.
You're never gonna rub the stink of us off.
We're not furries, dude.
When
I'm not. I never called anyone. I'm just saying this is why people might get the impression. I just like doggies. They're my top 5 favorite animal.
All
and not in
5
that
of
way.
the top.
I think too. Well, I mean, I don't want to get too specific. I like gerbils and hermit crabs. I like some fish. I don't know. After that, it really starts to slide off.
okay,
So these top 5 dogs, are they power tops?
Are they? That depends on present company.
All
you
right.
know what? I'm fucking lost. I am.
Try to
I'm
keep
lost
up,
in
Allison.
the weeds.
It's,
I'm
it's,
trying to keep up.
it's man talk in a sense.
Yes,
Don't
this
worry.
is.
It's
This is it's my feeble women brains can't handle the speed at which this is moving.
It's
Oh my
locker
God.
room. It's just locker room talk, Allison. Locker
Okay.
room talk. All right.
kennel talk. It's a thing.
So, yes. So we got Rags. You are a YouTuber that makes videos about gaming and stuff.
Alleged YouTuber.
Yeah.
Alleged YouTuber. Yes.
Why do you make videos, man? What's
It's
the
just
point?
a side hobby that I enjoy. What's the point?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the point of it all, really?
What is the point of it all?
What's the point of it all? We're getting existential and we're only a couple minutes in. I understand. We might want to
Welcome to
slide
Honey
the
Badger
sliding
Radio.
scale up to this point.
First
Yeah.
question.
We
First
answer
question's
your
the
deepest
toughest.
and philosophical questions. We have no degrees. You don't need them. No one can tell if you have a philosophy degree or not. It doesn't matter. It really you could tell people if you do. It doesn't change anything.
No, I don't actually have a philosophy degree.
If you had 5 people talking about philosophy and you said point out the ones with philosophy degrees, like you couldn't fucking do it.
I have taken undergraduate philosophy, but I don't
What-
have a philosophy degree.
What'd you learn?
Sorry,
Sorry, what'd you learn about yourself?
I think I took it before all of that shit came rolling down the hill from the humanities department, and so I just learned the base, like the typical philosophical, the greats, Nietzsche, bleh, I can't pronounce anything.
Nietzsche.
That's his Spanish half brother, isn't it?
Yes, awesome, thanks.
Leche
You're gonna have
con
fun with
leche.
me.
My name is Federico Nietzsche.
I leave lots of openings. Feel free to, pile drive right in. But yeah, so I just learn the basic,
Schrodinger's
I'm
taco.
littering. Yeah, I'm just gonna sound like an idiot now,
Mhm.
and spiral down worse and worse and worse. But yeah, just it didn't teach me anything about myself.
No.
Not really, and it wasn't really about that. It was about.
Is it
I'd
about
have
the
to say the
history of
best.
philosophers or about philosophy itself?
I was about both. I would say the best part was probably the logic. That's the stuff that I liked the best was predicate logic and all of that shit. So
How to
it's a fun-
debate and argue and reason.
No, actual literal logic, not the
Like,
debate.
oh,
logic.
literal logic.
Yeah, like yeah,
Mhm.
stuff that I don't remember anymore. So don't prod me anymore, man. Stop
Okay.
it! Stop it! My lady brains, they're just a quivering.
Well, we got the lady quiver, and we'd better move on.
All right. Well, yeah. So philosophy, it's the thing that you take that teaches you that we could never know anything ever. So it's kind
Well,
of
you can know that
pointless.
you exist. But that's it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose I didn't take it. I wasted my money on different degrees.
I didn't either. Like what?
Art.
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 Yeah.
No, I took years of art, and all I got was this doge pick in this podcast.
You made that?
That's more than more people did. No, me? Oh hell no! I got someone else to draw this shit.
Oh, okay. Oh, well.
So you are
you need a
you
degree
take
for
art.
that?
No, I didn't. Well, I almost did. I didn't though, because I want to eat. But
Yeah.
I did a year of college, but I went to a really good high school, and I didn't learn anything in college. So I got a job and made monies, and now I'm gonna put monies on this thing because I haven't actually made money from this YouTube business yet. Because as I alluded to before, it literally in every sense of the word, it was just a side hobby that I did on the side, not in the and it just kind of grew into something that beautiful or atrocious depending on who you ask.
Who would consider it atrocious?
Let me see. Let me go through my block list on Twitter. Not
Yeah,
mine.
I knew it. I knew it.
I have one person blocked. It's a robot, so it's not even really a person. Let me unblock them just out of principle.
You bigot. Robots, not all
lives
robots
matter.
are not people. The robots can also be people too, I think. If
No,
they
this one's
identify
not a
as such.
I don't know what this robot identifies as,
Should've-
actually. Let me
you
go to
should've
block
asked
accounts.
for- you
Michelle
should've-
Campbell.
Ask for his pronouns.
Yeah, 346 tweets, 1 following, 2 followers. Yeah, she's a bot. She's got like her picture. She's taking a selfie of her. She's got big old titties.
So already the artificial intelligence has it out for you.
I'm sick of hearing about artificial intelligence right now because whenever anyone brings up artificial intelligence, it's about getting rid of low quality posts on social media. And I like to think I'm capable of doing that myself. And by doing that myself, I mean not doing that.
I'm just saying that it sounds like you're going to be the first target of Skynet when it
So-
happens.
I mean, it's something that we'd have to talk about eventually. You look at all the self-driving cars out there nowadays, and I mean, what's the discussion that's going to take place eventually, even though they're super safe? Eventually, a self-driving car is going to kill somebody, and there's going to be this huge legal schmagagel that happens because of it, and now they're going to be a mess. Going to be a mess. Now they got drones and things like that. Why can't we just go back to hoops and sticks and malaria? Like the good old days.
Yeah. Well, I'm ready.
Were you actually alive for the good old days?
What, me? No, I don't. Most things, I wasn't there. I wasn't actually there.
Do you remember BBSs? Do you remember dial-up? Are you that old?
I remember dial-up. Absolutely, I did. I remember all the sounds. You know, the weep, weep, weep.
But did you remember it from being in the crib with your thing up and the boop boop wee 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 in the background, or did you actually use dial-up?
We tried to watch a Jib Jab video a long time ago, and it never loaded. We gave up. Our friends and family had wondered why we hadn't called in days, and they were worried, and so we had to eventually plug it back into the phone line. But I remember those days, and it was awful, absolutely awful.
Oh yeah, I remember.
The step up to DSL was just like that's the step up to DSL was insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my god, we can actually use it now.
You can actually have videos as opposed to just like remember all that flash animation.
Yeah, I do. I remember flash animations. Legendary lily pad. I don't know if that's still a thing, but that was one of the things we went to. Or I went to. I never had growing up. Actually, I didn't have internet connection. I didn't have unrestricted internet connection until I was in college.
Yeah, I think that was
back. I'm glad, but when I was doing it, it sucked.
I remember when we had to go and you would surf the net for like maybe anime porn, right? And it would take 10 minutes for one image. And it would be line by line by line by line by
absolutely.
line.
You'd see the hair and it's anime, so the eyes would be loading for like 3 minutes of the 10 minutes because it's anime. And then you'd see the pencil thin neck, and then you'd see the Oni-chan box pop up on the side in the hearts, and then you'd get down to the goods. That's 7.5 minutes, and you're like, oh, it's censored. Why did I bother?
Yeah.
That's not a dick. That's a tentacle. I've been cheated out of something. This will be a very frustrating wank, but I'll do it. But I'm not gonna like it.
Well, you've just given up like 7 minutes of your life just to get to that point, right?
You've
I
committed
give up
yourself.
7.5 minutes of my life to give up a minute of my life. That's how it works. But all that minute, boy.
Yeah, no, I'm not on dial-up. Somebody mentioned in chat that we're still on dial. No, we're not. It's close, but not quite.
She's not on dial-up. It's worse. She's on Canadian internet.
Internet.
We use shrews. Each
Yeah.
shrew represents a bit.
Is that a stereotypically Canadian animal, a shrew?
No, it's just we have like around my house we have a lot of them, so it just became a joke that we're on the
They
shrew net.
operate on yeah. They're
on
basically
small
the engine.
small rodents.
They're like tiny little
Canadian internet.
sweatshop workers that keep the internet going.
Oh, okay.
Tiny little
Saskatoon.
packets of information.
Little Chinese kids, little orphans.
Right.
Yeah, no, but the shrews, like
But
the
they're
little
cuter.
backpacks.
They're cuter.
Yeah, cuter.
I would yes. The Chinese children are not very.
Yeah.
They're not the best. They're not the best looking kids I've seen. I'll say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Oh my
Well,
God.
So-
there you go. All right. Now
How many
you can get away
groups
with
have we
anything these days.
Yes. How many people have we offended so far? All right. So moving on. So I saw your stream yesterday, where you took or at least you attempted to, take the representations of diversity in games survey.
We after a grueling 2.5 hours, we managed to power through these questions. After, if you couldn't tell, I don't know anything about streaming, and I don't know anything certainly about Rabbit. At least I know more now than I used to, as the case may be. But we did. It was myself, Bulletberry, and Fringy decided to take this survey. People were asking for a live stream between us, and so I'm like, fine, why not? And so I found this survey, and I found the survey because someone linked me the survey on Twitter, and the person who started the Twitter, they had blocked me, and we've never interacted before. No clue who this person is, Elena M. Cole, and she runs something called Queerly Represent Me. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I have it open over here. Let's see. I put a link to it in the low bar, guys, that you're watching, so you can take the survey too. Too bad you can't post trash pigeons in it, because that's what I would have put for every answer. However, yes, it's Alanya McCole at well, that's her email. Alanya Cole.
Elena. Elena?
Alania.
Alanian? AMC.
All onions. All in.
American Movie Classics.
Yeah, that's
Like
right.
like the one with the Rosebuds the sled. Spoiler alert. But she blocked me, and Queerly Represent Me, they blocked me, and let me see. So I had to find a good link. By the way, if you block someone, they can just right click, open an incognito window, and like you're just slightly inconveniencing them. And the difference between
You're the one blocking them.
No, hell no, I don't have anybody blocked. My block list as of like 5 minutes ago, literally 0 people. I have nobody blocked.
So how do you find out who's blocking you aside from just paging?
Because I go to their page and it says I'm blocked.
Oh, I see.
So you meticulously
Okay.
went
That's
through
all.
every person and figured out who blocked you on all of Twitter?
No, they just event. Well, no, that's not exactly. It happens organically and naturally, and by that I mean my block list doesn't have any GMOs. And when I'm going through my Twitter feed, if I'm in conversations with people, all of a sudden their tweets just have a link and it says this tweet's unavailable. And then you go to them, and you can no longer see the tweets that you're replying to anymore, or that you've quoted, because they've blocked you. And if you want to research into who these people are, and you go to their Twitters, which is a good way to find out who they are really quick, they will have blocked you. So it just happens, and I've got a lot of people who send me stuff. So have you
encountered the block list yet? I'm not quite sure what it was originally called, but it's a gigantic block list of all the there's I think it was Randy. Was it Randy Harper?
Yeah, Randy Harper who made the block bot, and I made her list too. I was like, yes.
Yeah. Do we have a link? Maybe Rags has made the list, because I remember when this first came out, and I looked at the block bot, and I'm like, I had a Twitter account. I never even really tweeted, but I was on like the first tier of Randy's block bot before I even tweeted. I'm like, wow, you really fucking. Why would you even know who the hell I am? and yet I'm on your first tier as most blockable.
Well, it's because
Anyway.
you're a piece of shit sexist, obviously. But
Well,
for
definitely.
oh, yeah, but
Misogynist.
for it might be a Badger thing. Let me.
Well, no,
There it,
yeah, it might be, but I actually was blocked as Typhon Blue even before I did HBR, I think.
oh well,
Yeah.
with I mean I'm of course blocked by Steve Shives, of course.
Who isn't?
Yeah.
Who is he?
I think
he's
no, I know who he is. I was asking who isn't blocked besides his wife, who probably has him blocked, but he doesn't have her blocked.
His wife hasn't given him permission to block her yet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how their relationship works.
Yeah.
And I got blocked by him. All I did was tweet him. All I tweeted him was, I don't agree with some of the things you say. I think that verbatim was what I said. And I took a nap, and by the time I woke up, I was blocked. I get blocked by a lot of the people I do videos on. They'll block me. I get blocked by all sorts of people that I quote or talk to. There was someone today that I got blocked by. They were talking about Horizon Zero Dawn. Jinlock blocked me. That's great. Jinlock she's a writer on a Xbox propaganda site called ICXM. And what she did was she wrote an article on ICXM that basically said why stopping Obamacare will hurt game developers.
What?
Yeah, because that's totally how it'll work. As someone whose parents run a small business who had to literally fire every one of their employees when it got started because they couldn't afford to have them, it was pretty bad. It's pretty bad to hear that stuff. But she wrote a story about how, let me see here. Let me throw the real quick. Affordable Care Act repeal will negatively impact game developers, even though, to my knowledge, Obamacare is extremely bad for small businesses. It's the big businesses that can handle it. So all those indie devs, they're probably not too happy about it. But I basically, because it's an Xbox site, and so I was like, hey, you're shilling political propaganda on a game site as a journalist, and then I'm blocked now. Long story short, because that's what you do.
Congratulations.
This guy's oh, absolutely. It's like a badge of it's really is a badge of honor to be blocked by a lot of these people because they just can't handle you, and it illustrates the difference between blocking and muting. I have a lot of people muted, the trolley types, people who say the same thing over and over, people who just there's nothing interesting about anything that they've said. And this guy was talking about how Horizon Zero Dawn was better looking than any PC game and stuff like that, and how it's unique and there's nothing like it. And I was like, really? There's nothing like a third-person action-adventure game? And he was like, oh, fuck, you're salty, blah, fuck you. And then I ended up blocked. But such is my life. Such is my life. Do not feel bad for me. Please, do not feel bad for me. It's wonderful.
Oh, well, I don't. I don't feel anything for anyone.
I
anymore.
I can't actually find the block list, so I can't determine where Rags is on it.
Yeah, I can't find it either. I mean, to be fair,
it's actually very frustrating.
I stopped looking really fast, but I did for a second.
Yeah.
So.
I'm a little more spurgy than you.
I'm certain that word will eventually spread that I am a persona non grata in those circles, and I mean, especially with Elena M. Cole and the Queerly Represent Me and stuff. I'm sure that this person, because everyone knows each other in those circles of those types of people. So eventually, word will get back, and I'm sure I'll get put on the list. And I mean, that's.
Oh, you're probably already on the list right now. Like, the instant you tweeted or even responded to us in a positive way, you were probably on the list, and they just like right there.
They said, "Why can't Rags be an ally? Why, Rags, are you not an ally?"
Yeah,
because we like I said, I think I was on the list, but there was a list before Gamergate, wasn't there? This wasn't just the GG auto blocker. This was a thing that went way before Gamergate.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we'll have to ask the Saudis that run Twitter to find out if they have anybody else on the twist on their list. So, but Rags, why the name Rags? Why'd you come up with that?
It is
or is that your given name? If it is, I apologize for assuming that it wasn't.
We'll call him. We should
Where's
call him
he
Rags.
from?
Were you assigned Rags at birth? Is what I'm asking.
Like, dear, we talked about this. We can't call him Rags. He's gonna be Towel. There is no real reason. I mean, it's just it goes way back. There's really no reason for it. There's no real reason for the dog.
There's no real reason. Okay.
There's no real reason. There's no secret message.
No.
There's no reference. There's no. I mean.
There's no fetish, sexual interest thing going on.
No, definitely.
These aren't cum rags we're talking about. Just
no,
the word
no,
rag.
No. I mean, and rags are not. They're not created. They're not created as cum rags. They become cum rags.
Oh,
yes. It's not something you're born into. It's something you're destined for.
It's like a Pokemon evolving. I understand.
Exactly.
Like
not every Pikachu is going to be a Raichu.
Right. It's an ascension. Yes. And it is literally blessed with life. Millions and millions of lives. So, no, the reason why I brought that up was because my girl asked me why Rags for the dog. And I said, well, maybe he has a dog whose name is Rags. Because I could say that's like a good name for a dog, is to call it Rags, especially if it's kind of like, like a three-legged one that you got from like the shelter with like one eye, like one that's like really messed up, mange.
We're gonna put him down this afternoon. No, I will save him. This poor thing. But with the dog, I like dogs. I just generally like dogs. And so I picked a type, and I was like, Shiba Inus are. They're handsome looking. We'll pick one of those. Yeah,
I happen to like Shiba Inus as well. Actually,
it's not like a little Chihuahua or some bullshit like that.
No. Small but hardy looking. And I always thought they were like the dogs that ninjas would take with them on missions. So I could just see that, right? Yeah.
They are a Japanese breed of dog, yes. Like the Akita.
Exactly. Yeah. So I actually was because I love dogs too, and I have like a mutt here next to me. But for a while, I was looking for Shibas.
Whoa now.
It's not derogatory. She likes knowing that she's a mix. She is.
She's. We're podcasting, mate.
She's a mixed biracial dog. What's wrong with that? But
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, she's biracial. She's more progressive than the average dog. So,
what two races?
Pointer, pit bull. So is the closest estimation. It's difficult to nail down, but from what that's what I would gather. Yes, bull point.
Or point bull, whichever you prefer.
I think point bull sounds better. But she's got colors. Yeah, she's got Shiba-ish colors like this.
Oh, okay. There you go. You can send me a picture later.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to think I'm pure-blooded. I'm pure. I'm an Aryan Shiba Inu. But hell, I'll fuck anything. Let's do it. Going forward, not my responsibility.
But I actually was
looking
into
silence.
I was looking into buying a Shiba though for a while. I really wanted one. And I'm in the States, and nobody was breeding them or anything. And the only thing I could find was a guy in Canada that was breeding Shibas, and he was selling the puppies for $3,000.
They can be they can be expensive.
Holy shit, man!
They can be pricey.
Never actually got to meet. I got to meet one when I was in London for the ICMI, and I was like, "What are the fucking odds?" So
there's someone around here who's got one, who walks it every once in a while, and I'm like, look, there you go. They're real.
Steal it. I mean, pet it sometime. I'm sorry.
She's pretty good looking. Not the dog. I mean the person walking the dog. You gotta draw a line somewhere. It's probably not my type anyway. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
So I'm not closing any doors.
That's right. So, Rags, you made videos. Some of them are like participating in these, this PC Master Race console war stuff. Some of it is maybe you're just talking about games that you like or games that you hate. But why did you get involved with talking about like PBS, social justice warriors, and all these authoritarians? Like, how did you get wrapped up in that kind of stuff? And why did you take
a part of it is because a lot of the people I follow on Twitter and a lot of the people that I watch on YouTube are of that crowd. The Sargons and Harmful Opinions and the Kraut and Teas and things like that. And it's something that interests me. And there was definitely a crossover between those kinds of attitudes and opinions and that mindset, and it can bleed into gaming, and it can affect what we play and affect our hobby. And I've got a lot of influence, and I would like to defend the hobby that I like, and I would like to keep these toxic, poisoning sorts of mentalities out of it and combat them in the open for everyone to see. And I want to get rid of a lot of these negative stereotypes a lot of that gamers tend to get. I want to ensure that developers have the most freedom to do and say whatever they want, or to create whatever kinds of narratives and adventures and creations that they want to put together without feeling that they got someone breathing down their neck, or they're not allowed to do it, or they're not doing it right, or that makes them bad people. Because this is the kind of thing that gets me. It's relatable when you see stuff like this in a hobby that you enjoy. When somebody talks about something that happens somewhere in the world, when you talk about migrants in Sweden, when you talk about mosques in like UK, when you talk about something happening in California, it's distant. But when you sit down at a video game and you can say to yourself, this is something that someone might want to be taking away from me. This might be something that people want to change. This might be something that people want to push a political agenda with. Then it becomes a lot more real to people. And a lot of it is this is my hobby and I enjoy it and I don't want you to fuck with it.
Agreed. What's like some of the stuff that's actually happened in game development that has pissed you off? Like some of the stuff that's going on.
It's not as much the things that have actually happened as the things that will happen unless people resist those kinds of ideas. And I'd say like at least voice opposition to. People can make whatever they want, do whatever they want.
Sure.
But there is like the video I'm doing now is someone who's saying that Horizon Zero Dawn's a feminist game.
Oh, that's the one with the cave woman that's shooting arrows at robo dinosaurs?
Yes.
Okay.
But you get into these ideas at the beginning of the video. She says, "I want to take a look at this game from a feminist perspective."
Oh.
And when you have to put the glasses on, you put them on enough times you can't take them off eventually. There's going to be a point where if you keep going on, you're not going to be able to look at things from anything other than a feminist perspective. Mm-hmm. And when a developer gets that into their head, when a publisher gets that into their head, then things will change for the end user. All of a sudden, you will have. Let's take a recent example as Battlefield 1. Someone's going to have to explain to me why there's so many damn black Germans in World War 1.
Yeah, right.
That makes no sense. It makes no sense. All right? Black American soldiers. That makes sense.
They went ahead and put black Germans in. I didn't play Battlefield 1, but I did see. I think it was like game art for it that showed like a black German on the.
The game art is a Harlem Hellfighter. There's a division, American division of soldiers in World War I called the Harlem Hellfighters.
Yeah. And
they kicked ass. They were really, really good at what they did, and it makes sense that they should be in the game, for instance. Because they're soldiers and they make sense. They're a division, and like I said, they kicked ass. They were very good at what they did, and that's a narrative that can be played, especially with the story aspect of Battlefield 1. But the fact that there were no black Germans in Europe fighting with the Germans, basically, it was a negligible amount. And after the war, the Germans actually, I think they made illegal biracial marriages. The Germans were not fond of the blacks, right? And it makes no sense that they feel very shoehorned in, for instance.
Oh, for sure.
I feel the only faction in Battlefield 1 that doesn't have a black in it, a black person in it, is the Italians, I think. I think they're called the Austro-Hungarians or whatever. But with, you see them, I think you got them for the British. They're with the Americans, but they're with the Germans too. The Germans. It makes no sense. And I did make a video that did go viral. It's got like almost 3 million views or something. No idea how that happened. I promise you, people, if I knew how that happened, I'd obviously do it again. But it was about how people were bitching about how there were no female playable soldiers in Battlefield 1. There's one in the story, but that's a story that's telling the story of an individual. But there were some people who were legitimately bitching about how in World War One, in 1916 to 1918, I think, you could not play as a female in the front lines of a war in World War One.
Right.
When it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. It wasn't a thing.
No, because people were going to war back then to protect their women, not to put them into battle.
Yeah, and women are just there's a reason, whether you like it or not, there's a reason women aren't in militaries in the numbers that they are. And there's a reason for that. It's not like it's not a random thing. But you've got let me see, in World War One, when I was looking at it, there was a division that the Russians used. It lasted only about a year, and they used it for propaganda value for the most part. Even though I think in battle they did okay. But it was about 5,000 women that the Russians used, because leave it to the Russians to be that progressive. And like I said, it only lasted for a year. They had they saw limited combat. It was only on certain fronts, and it just was this tiny little thing. And that's the best. 5,000 out of the millions and millions and millions who participated in the war. But when you have people trying to push inclusion as a necessity, or as not even as a necessity, but when they push inclusion as almost like a moral imperative, then you have designers who feel pressured to stray from their vision of what their game should be in order to satisfy that. And as a result, it can hurt the immersion or the realism of stories or games that they make.
It stands out. It stands out like
it does
sore fucking thumb.
Absolutely. If you're running around in a World War One game, it's easy for you to take elements of a World War One game and accept them as reality, even though they're not obviously true. Respawning, for instance, the fact you can get shot and someone throws a health pack at you and now you're good as new. Things like that, we've seen enough. We can accept those as reality. But in a game where you can choose between males and females, remember, it's not just going to be one woman on the battlefield out of 64 people, which even then would be a insane overrepresentation of women in combat in World War One. It would be every third or 40% or half of people choosing to play as a woman, which would destroy any immersion. Absolutely destroy it.
And actually, wait a minute, isn't there like a tactical advantage to picking a woman for those games? Like you're I don't know if they balance it out, but a lot of times their hitbox is smaller, so they're harder to hit.
I think in DayZ that's the case in a very minor way. In some games I think maybe, but for the most part they tend to make them close enough to where it's not an actual deal. But there are games where there's a statistical difference between choosing males and females. There's Mountain Blade Warband, for instance, which is a game that has some historical merit to it. Obviously, there are disadvantages of being a warrior who is a female in those times. Your renown, for instance, in the game will affect how you can join factions and things and rise in ranks. It also changes your statistics. In Dragon Ball Xenoverse, there are statistical differences between males and females also.
Really?
We all know in Massive... Yeah.
Oh, I played a Namek in that one, so I only had one option. But... yeah, I didn't know
that's very progressive of you.
Oh yeah, well, but who needs see? You can't even assume the gender of the Namek. I was just a Namek.
Yeah.
So
in games like Mass Effect, the romances and love interests that you want to pursue among your crew members, that will be determined by what your gender is. Because Garrus Vicarian, for instance, he is only into chicks. So if you want to bone Garrus, you got to be a lady. He likes the lady bits. Right?
Yeah, right.
And so that's a decision you have to make. In Mass Effect, like in the first one, for instance, you have to choose to sacrifice one of your crew members because you can't save them both. And one of those crew members are both romantic options, but you can't pursue both those romantic options at the same time. So a lot of people's decision will be based solely on, I'm trying to have a romance with this one character. And so... as a result, that will influence their decision on who to save, because you pick this gender to get this person, and so that'll affect it keeps going on from there.
Yeah.
And in narrative games like The Witcher, for instance, which is a very immersive, semi-realistic representation of the medieval folklore of Poland. Back in those days, there was a lot of bigotry and sexism and stuff like that, and women, especially technology wise, because humans are sexually dimorphic. Women are generally weaker and smaller than the males are. I think it's like 20% or so. There would be a reason for women to be looked down upon and castigated in certain instances, insulted and treated differently. So if Geralt of Rivia was a female instead of a male, that would affect the narrative of the game.
Okay, this is in Poland, right?
The Witcher takes place. It takes place in a world that was written by someone with a Polish name. I'm not even going to attempt, but a Polish guy wrote a book series called The Witcher. CD Projekt Red made video games based off of it, but the lore takes place based on Polish folklore.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I did a video about this about a week ago. It's full of a bunch of white people, obviously, because Polish folklore.
Yeah, Polish folklore.
Just to answer a question in the chat, actually, my husband told me he made stir fry, so now I've got that on the brain.
You should just go eat it.
Yeah, I know.
We're just gonna nerd out on video game shit. So.
No, but I feel like I should contribute in some manner. Considering.
Bring us some.
Yeah. Well, I'll bring you some stir fry. I'll push it into the screen, shall I? See how effective that is.
Just mail it. It's fine.
Put it in the thermos. I'll give you a PO box.
Do FedEx.
Yeah, no, I just no, I wanted to get in there just to maybe just contribute something and then leave for my stir fry. But the reason why I asked about Poland was I was wondering if you'd moved away from World War II, because I can actually talk about the attitudes towards female conscription in World War I and II, because I've actually researched it. The reason why women weren't conscripted wasn't because they felt like they couldn't handle it. It was because they felt like they shouldn't have to. So
yeah, that was absolutely, yeah. It wasn't it was war is a terrible, horrible thing.
Yeah, well, it was a terrible, horrible thing, and they didn't want to subject women to it. And if you read the minutes from them discussing conscription in World War II, this is exactly the reason why they did it. And they actually said, it's not because we don't think that women can't do it, it's because we think women shouldn't have to do it.
Yeah, we don't want them bleeding all over the machine guns. I mean, dear Lord.
Yeah. Well, we don't want them bleeding, period, from holes other than the ones that God gave them.
From wherever.
Yeah, from wherever. So it's like that's a... I just wanted to put that in.
There is a level of gynocentrism that occurs in Western civilization. So
well, it occurs in all civilizations, I would argue. But
yeah, probably it's a human thing. I mean, there's a level of expendability that males have that females don't in the same way.
The first person who models your sense of belonging is your mother, and she basically says, who belongs, who doesn't, who's inside the group, who isn't, and unless there's a group of humans that lay eggs. That's a universal.
In the Greek oikos, the family structure of ancient Greece, it was the woman who was in charge of everything regarding the inside of the house, and the men were in charge of everything outside of the house. So it was I mean, you see that pop up all over the place. Minoan culture, for instance, had a very big female aspect of it that you don't see in a lot of other places as well. But
yeah, but before I leave, just the crossover with because that prepare yourself. This might be shocking. We do a lot of men's rights. Okay. We talk about a lot of men's rights issues on this channel, or men's issues on this channel, and I'll put this out there before I leave and make it all awkward. Have you heard the good word, by the way?
Jesus?
No.
No.
Are you ready to accept Warren Farrell into your heart as your new Lord and Savior?
He'd have to send me nudes first.
Okay.
100@gmail.
You probably would do that.
He is very gentle.
I don't really give a shit if people care about men at all. We're about bringing about compassion for men, but that doesn't matter. In terms of these situations where people are colonizing subcultures and hobbies, they're always using exactly the same narrative to do it. And we actually identified this in 2013. We were talking about, even before Gamergate happened, we were talking about how people, like the establishment, uses the same narrative to colonize subcultures and hobbies that they want to control. And what they do is they say, this subculture and this hobby is victimizing women in this way. It's harmful or exclusionary towards women. And that's their to get in and start controlling everything, controlling creative freedom, controlling the social landscape. And in my opinion, what short circuits the narrative itself is actually being aware of men's issues. Because you can say, hey, Because this is basically weaponized damseling, and the only way you can do that is if it isn't something that men face as well. Because the instant you bring men into the equation, nobody gives a shit anymore.
Yeah,
it's like
it's just it's just men. It's all men and history and men.
Yeah, well, it's like if women are subject to harassment on Twitter, we care. If men are also subject to harassment on Twitter, we stop giving a shit.
Who cares?
Who cares? We just give a shit.
You see this with the Milo and Lena Dunham sort of parallels. Dunham. Lena Dunham.
Dunham beast.
What a disgustingly unattractive individual. Why did you put those online, Lena? Why? Dear God. Why? What were you thinking? This doesn't help your case, Lena. If you're watching this, you probably blocked me.
She is watching this.
Oh, okay.
She also probably blocked you, yeah.
There's probably a significant population of people who hate watch us. But
that's fine.
Just to get to my point, it's like when you bring men into the equation, you take away that weapon. It's weaponized damseling. It's gone. It just circuits the entire narrative.
People do it with children as well. It's for the children. It's for the women. If they turn something, if someone believes that what they're doing is morally righteous, then they can justify literally anything. Yeah,
they can, and they can justify taking away all kinds of rights and freedoms. But I would argue that the best way to oppose that is to introduce the conversation about men's issues, because oh my God, does it shut people up, and it takes away their weapon, because you don't care, like even if, and it's a horrible thing to say, but at the instant you introduce male victims of anything, people stop caring.
Yeah, and it sucks. The male suicide rate and the homeless rate and PTSD and all that stuff. It's terrible. It really is terrible. And that's something that
you can use it to shut people up.
Absolutely. Like I remember one time Sargon of Akkad, he tweeted at Christy Winters and he said, "Is male suicide a feminist issue?" And that was a little rigmarole. But that's it. Stuff like that are good questions to ask.
Did she give a robust answer?
A robust feminist argument. I don't know how that turned out. There was so much ring around the rosy to get an answer. I forget how it ended.
Robust.
So robust. I like my feminists
torturing you with that word every time I use the word robust. Oh God, but no. Some suicide and feminism is like this is where I can go rage, because I mean, if you think about feminist theory, they're essentially saying that men who have mental health issues have them despite being carried about on litters made of gold, carried by minorities and women.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we have to get jobs and pay for shit. We have to, we have to pay for our razors to shave our faces.
No, you get them for free. You're a man.
Yeah, that's right. I got my check in the mail the other day.
You just right away, you get your package, you get
my monthly razor.
You got to go to
man control.
Just you know, the government. All the free man shit, you just get it at mancard.com. They have razors. They got portable pussies. They got.
You got to send them a dick pic, but most people think it's worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, can I say something on the robust?
I know my dick pic is worth it.
And Brian is going to hate me for this. Have you ever actually looked at academic feminism, Rags?
I, like, in the sense that I hear about it all the damn time. Yeah, I mean, the people I follow talk about it all the time, and I can see examples of it. You see the links, you see the articles, you see the videos of it. It's definitely a thing in academia that just needs to stop, or it not stop so much as the other side needs to be told. So, because sunlight is a wonderful disinfectant.
Yeah, well, what I was going to get at is that they say that academic feminism is robust.
Very.
It is total bullshit. Like,
what's more robust than the block button?
Yeah.
The women blocking you. But
the discussion of how sex banks, or sorry, not sex banks, sperm banks oppress women, that's robust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God! So they say that somehow in this mythical feminist academia, they have robust arguments, and yet feminist academia is just Tumblr posts with more buzzwords.
Pretty much buzzword, and you see that in gaming a lot too. The buzzwords. There was one feminist type on Twitter I was talking with, and I had asked her something along the lines of, and of course, you know, Trump's a misogynist piece of shit. Blah blah. He hates women. He married 3 of them, but he hates women. Let me see. There was
He also had a couple.
Yeah, I know. What's up with that? You know, he didn't just abort them on the spot.
No,
That's crazy.
No. Is that a woman? Get her out. You gotta go back. You gotta go back.
I make the best women. I make the best women. Do the best ever.
Tremendous
Ask anyone
women.
to tell you.
Tremendous women.
Trump women, they're the best. They're the best women. I know it. You know it. We all know it. Ask anyone, they'll tell you. That's my best Trump. That's all I got. So if we
I was laughing, but I was muted because I didn't want to distract anyone with my laughter.
So you came in
what
and
did I
decided to
ask
distract
her?
us by saying that you didn't want to distract us.
Oh,
Yes, and I'm gonna distract you.
people bring up the right to control their own bodies. So women's like, I should have the right to control my own body. I should right to do this. And they compare it because when you ask a woman what rights do men have that you lack, that's what I asked her. And because I wanted to, because it gets into what is a right, what isn't right. And she said, I don't have the right to control my own body. It's a bunch of men deciding what I can do with my body. It's like, well, that's because you decided to make this a federal issue. And politicians are mostly men. Right, that's something mostly men go into because that's what mostly men choose to do.
And it's also
It's
what women. It's also what mostly women voted for, since they make up the
women
majority
can
of
vote.
voters.
Yeah, 52% of voters, registered voters, are women. So enough with this whole thing that men control everything. They don't. All right. I mean, I don't see you bitching about all the male garbage men out there or the male oil workers. You know, it only matters when it's a doctor or a CEO or a video game developer or some cushy romanticized thing like that.
Or
one
the
of the
president.
people who keeps aside, or the president, exactly. But
Well, what I find hilarious about the birth control argument is they have to go to these other men don't actually have reproductive rights.
none, zero. If the woman has the ultimate say, basically.
Holy shit! You're aware of this stuff.
I know it's
Yeah,
weird, right?
he's
It's like
woke.
I'm not.
It's
I
like
am
you're a
woke.
man or
He's-
something.
He's
Well,
woke.
I was raised fairly well. I was raised with I think my parents did a good job. They really helped expose me to a lot of stuff. And then when I got internet access, I just bombarded myself with ideas and people and things. And I was raised politically. I was raised Republican. I'm more centrist now, but I always had this big libertarian part of me. I'm big on individual power that people have. People have choices. People have personal agency,
But
which is
collective.
totally not a feminist thing at all. Feminism is about victimization. And the ultimate way to oppress someone is to tell someone that they're a victim and they don't have power and they can't change it. And it's not your fault. No matter what you do, the world's going to take a steaming dump on your chest and you're just going to have to deal with it. Right?
Mhm.
And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like that whole white privilege nonsense. Like I'm working my whole life, and I've been told oh shit, I didn't know. I have all sorts of privileges, but it's not because of my skin.
Well, there is a
color.
white privilege. You know what it's called? I can spell it out. Father. Father.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the white privilege.
Exactly. There is the most privileged thing that you can have is it's your parents being married, being in an advanced, a modern country, preferably in Western civilization, where there is, all intents and purposes, equality between the genders for the most part. There is, those are the kinds of privileges. There's decision privilege of your parents, and then there's the situational privilege that happens because of where you were born and the environment around you, not because of something you can't choose, like you're a man or a woman, or you're black or white, or you're Hispanic or anything. I mean, a lot of people above me at work are minorities, so it doesn't. And when you look at the list too, the list of people from the list of minorities and how much they're making, whites are pretty far down on that list. People from Indonesia, for instance, are making way more than whites are. People from China making way more than whites are. I heard that immigrants from Nigeria, 83% of them have a college degree. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Nigerians, get your asses over here.
That's right. Do we want him over here?
Well, we'll make an exception for the darkies.
We're gonna take care of our own first. No, but
Yeah, but it's okay, I'm just gonna get in here. I'm gonna get in here.
all right,
Sorry,
all
Brian.
right.
Because I'm gonna be gone in like a
Yeah,
few minutes.
yeah.
The man who's gonna give me stir fries
You've
coming.
been saying that.
Yeah, but the whole idea of white privilege is really father privilege. It's having the privilege of being raised with a father.
Exactly.
And ironically, when you realize that welfare is basically a crusade against black fatherhood, and but pointing that out is of course racist.
Mm-hmm. Of course
Anyway,
it is. Well, they don't. I mean, because, well, I don't know. It's just people you get dependent on the state for stuff, and then when people come along and they say, get your shit together. Maybe we can put fathers back in the home, try to fix the family, and then you won't need the state. They think these people want to take away the state, the thing that I've now grown dependent on.
Yeah, dependence is bad. I mean, my dad was very, very big on personal dependence, and He said, grow up thinking that you're. I mean, one of his big things was he said, if you have kids, and just like I'm telling you now, don't tell kids that they're expected to be given things. Tell people to live their lives expecting as if they're not supposed to be given anything, and then everything that you should be given, your basic human rights, things like that, the things you pay into, that will be considered. I mean, it'll help put it into perspective for you. I did look this up. 37% of Nigerians had a bachelor's, 17% master's, 4% doctorates. So I don't know where I got 83, but still, shit, they're the most educated people in the U.S. So yeah, Nigerians. But
I think I sense a fetish. Maybe.
Nigeria. I have a Nigerian fetish. Yeah. Or maybe I just have a doctorate.
He's
fetish.
into those Nigers.
Yeah, those Nigerian doctors. Though this is a really obscure fetish reference, but this is a space moose reference. The Nigerian doctor fetish in Space Moose. Nobody knows what Space Moose is, but those who do know just love that. They just came all over their keyboards.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
That
sounds Canadian.
That's fine. It is Canadian.
Okay, yeah. That's
Space
why I don't
Moose
know
was like the first. He came out of a Canadian university, I think Edmonton, where Karen is, and he was very, very, very anti-feminist, and it was marvelous.
Oh,
I see the cartoons. I see these cartoons. CJSR 88.5 FM, and that was the latest from England's Dysentery. The track is called Carrots and Corn. The album is Fuckopolis. I don't even know what that means.
Fuckopolis? Something reference. It's reference to feces, probably.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, no, it's no. Feel free to go look through his archive. I think he saw the light at some point in the early 2000s and no longer created any of his cartoons anymore. He disavowed his satirical ways and became one of the good people who understand social justice. So
God forbid somebody doesn't. I mean, thank goodness he disavowed his satire, because we can't have people just like accepting satire as a normal thing.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly.
We can't have satire, and think of the children. What if the children see satire?
But he did a satire of Take Back the Night when, in those innocent times when Take Back the Night was the only thing, and not just the slut walk and the women's march and all the other shit that they're doing now. It was just Take Back the Night, but he did a satire. It was actually pretty funny. So.
There was a chick that I was that I work with, and when the Women's March was happening, we saw it on the screens and everything. And I said, what do you think they're marching for? And she's like, I don't know.
They don't know. They don't
either. I don't know either. It's to show solidarity.
Yeah, the women don't know. The women in the Women's March don't know what they're marching for.
They're marching because they're disgruntled.
I'm angry.
Yeah. They're upset.
I'm angry at things.
I knew
things are not optimal.
I have friends here in Chicago who are all married to coffee shop feminist wives, and I went to hang out with them to do dude stuff, and they were all the wives went to the march. We had one here in Chicago, and they were all there with their pussy hats and stuff, and I asked them what they were going there for, and none of my friends had good answers. They were all extremely supportive and proud. They put up photos or they made comments on social media. So proud of my wife and daughter for going. They're so brave. And I'm like, why? Are they going towards is there a machine gun nest downtown? I mean, maybe in Chicago there could be, but not where they're going. Not in the part of Chicago that they're heading towards.
No. Cover up your faces, you whores. You don't want the men to rape you.
I found this fucking remarkable. They're so proud.
They're brave, yes, they're proud of their wives and daughters, and they're so brave for doing this. And I'm like, doing what?
Braving possible mild dehydration, Brian.
How is it brave? No, it was actually relatively temperate that day, so I guess it wasn't that cold. But it was colder in Chicago at that time, because that was January or something. I don't even remember. No, it was around the time of the inauguration. That's right. It was actually not that bad in the city.
Well, just breathing, for a woman, just breathing.
Apparently getting off your ass,
bravery,
getting in a bus and going downtown as a woman to stand in a gigantic crowd with a sign with thousands and thousands of other women is like that is the same as as a 16-year-old, you have your papers and you go to register with the army so that you can land on Normandy Beach and charge the Germans. That's the same.
It's like
those things are the same amount of bravery. So
go to the Women's March
Yeah.
and just stand up and then say, okay, show of hands, who has their clitoris? Everyone? Right, I see a lot of hands here. I couldn't help but notice I see a lot of hands here. I just checking, just making sure. Carry on. Don't mind me.
Oh man, just so brave. Just to say something everybody already agrees with, and you won't be chastised for it. So brave. And yet, if any guy, any man actually says anything about the situation, like any kind of vulnerability, he's immediately whining. And they can
bravery
go.
is doing what you think is right in the face of opposition, not surrounded by everybody who thinks that the same way you do. Absolutely.
They can go and they can whine about something, and they don't even fucking know what they're whining about. They don't even know. They have no fucking clue. Okay, well, what are your concerns? I'm just vaguely disgruntled with the state of everything.
Yeah.
If the worst problem in your life is that you have to pay for your own abortion, I'd say things are pretty cheeky for you.
Yeah.
If it's
they're
brave,
they're mad because there's a guy who said something that guys always say to each other in private, and it happened to get recorded. And if you're a guy and you've never said anything like that,
yeah,
you're
I fucking hate
lying.
that. When that shit came out, everyone's like, "Oh, this will kill him. This will destroy him." It's like, come on, seriously, people. What the hell? This was that was like 12 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was on a bus talking to his jock friends, and someone sent me a picture of how I said, Donald Trump's not misogynist. He's just an old man. He's like, he doesn't hate women. That's ridiculous. And someone sent me a text picture of the quote, and it was saying, "The President of the United States." It's like, first off, that's super disingenuous to say that. That's like saying, "Honey, I have to go take a shit." Barack Obama. Like, don't tell me he hasn't said that. Right? It's disingenuous to quote someone as the POTUS when he said that X many years ago when he had no intention at all of being president.
Actually, it's funny that you should. I want to just get this in because I know Allison wants to say something about how women are just as nasty, if not nastier. But Obama actually has cussed on camera at a what do they call it? The dinners. They have like he would do these dinners like every year, and he had all these celebrities and politicians at these gigantic events, and he had the establishment.
Everyone had his back,
and they would go up there and they would like talk on the microphone for a while. Usually they told jokes, like he had comedians come out. It was actually I think it was the same year maybe that what's his name who has the Tonight Show now, I forget his name, but he went up there and said, I thought Donald Trump was running as a joke. This was when Trump was talking about running for president years ago, and Obama went up there and he made a joke about this Joe Biden thing that leaked a while back, where he was sort of whispering into Obama's ear, and he said, "This is a big fucking deal." And everyone was like, nobody was offended, but they thought it was funny because they thought, "Oh, this is something that Joe Biden." "Oh, Joe, you got a potty mouth.
Joe, you said a baddie word.
Yeah, that's
Go to
funny.
your room,
this
Joe.
is you. That's so you."
Joe.
And Obama was on the stage. Yeah, and Obama was up there, and he made a joke about that leak, but he actually said on the stage, like that he was talking to Joe, and they were talking about all the food that they had. And Obama said, "This is a big fucking meal." But they bleeped out the fucking. But everyone knows what he said because he was referencing another joke, and he did actually say they just bleeped it out for, TV. But he didn't there was no flack for that.
No, hell no.
I don't remember any
said
flack
all
for that.
sorts of terrible things.
Yeah.
I mean, the media was totally, maybe with the exception of Fox News, was really the only thing that was not completely and totally just wanking Obama for 8 years. He was, he was a star. He was a celebrity. He could do no wrong.
Like Trudeau.
Absolutely no wrong. Like Trudeau. Trudeau can do no wrong at all. Exactly the same. Exactly the same thing. But, there's a reason that Trump is your president, and Obama had a huge part to play in that.
You can't do wrong if you don't do anything at all.
Brian, so. I got to say my goodbyes, and I was just going to say, it really pisses me off because women are just as fucking bad, And it's annoying that you can get, like, to use an example of this, boys in fraternities or wherever are condemned for rating women, and yet women can buy an app to rate men. And it's like,
it's not objectification if women are doing it.
It just fucking pisses me so much. I gotta go eat some stir fry. It pisses me off so much.
It's so
see you in 2 minutes.
angering. It gives you an appetite. I understand. All right, Alison, you gone yet?
Have to eat my anger away. But yeah, there was George W. Love him or hate him. We can at least give him credit for coming up with, a speechwriter, for coming up with the soft bigotry of low expectations. It's a very real thing.
It was his guy that coined that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I didn't know.
That was a Bush administration thing.
Holy shit, that's probably the best thing they ever did.
I mean, I don't think he was really that bad of a president, really. He wasn't terrible. He was fine. He was all right. Not a great Republican in that sense, but he was okay. People just get butthurt because, white Republicans in the White House, fucking shit.
Yeah.
But with that, it really is important to know that when you tell people, or when you try to when you get the idea in your head that women are, it's like the whole, what's a good way to say it? Women are people. It's weird. I don't know, but women are people like you and I, and it's very, very important that you treat them like you would treat a person,
like a peer,
almost,
yes.
like an equal in civilized society. And when you start doing things for them, I mean, I understand there are some things because they're biological differences, but when you assume that they are so weak they cannot take care of problems for themselves, maybe think that they can a little.
Yeah. Stop treating them like children, basically.
Yeah, when you have to lower standards for women, when you have to lower standards for women, I mean, that's part of it. When you think a woman can't do it because, a woman needs help because of this, woman needs help because of that.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't need help. Maybe they are strong, independent, women that
don't need no man. Yeah.
No men. And I see this with, I mean, that's why in games a lot of the times you can have males and females and they're statistically the same, because people understand that, yeah, obviously the woman looks weaker and she's smaller, she doesn't have the muscles that the man has, but she'll do the exact same damage with her melee attacks, and she can pull a bow as strong. By the way, strength, it takes strength to
use a bow.
It takes strength to use a bow. Archers were super buff. They're not these agile little flower thing. Okay. Your strength stat should determine your bow damage, not your dexterity.
Yeah.
But
I blame Legolas.
Absolutely, I blame Legolas. Well, he's sort of, he's no weakling. I don't think he's a weakling.
No.
But yeah,
he's like runway model cut, I guess.
I think that precedes Legolas, but he does feed into the whole elves are bow slinging, stick throwing, agile. That I think that goes way back. That's like a Dungeons and Dragons way before. Hell, before that, that's a freaking medieval idea that the elves were the small people in the forest, and they're one with nature, and of course they use bows and they don't use things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, actually, okay, I want to go back to the survey. There were some of the questions because I took it, and I was a bit of a snarky asshole in the comments because the thing pissed me off more as I went through it. I really probably should have recorded myself or something, but because I was getting visibly upset. However, how important, okay, because this thing about video games, all right, they're a big deal to me too. I grew up on them, but I'm also a big consumer of lots of media. So I'm big into film, big into, I used to be big into comics, as a teenager, so it was a while back. And I actually am a comic artist, and I have multiple projects that I'd like to do. So I do follow what's going on in that world. And I like, gaming and stuff outside of video games. And I see this shit creeping in to all of that. It's creeping into literature, tabletop, people who play Warhammer, which I'm I don't even know how you could fuck with that, but they are. Even PETA is getting involved with that. Yeah.
In the grim, dark future, people wear animal skins.
Yeah, right.
God, no, that's literally the worst thing in the Warhammer universe. It's not the trillions of dead. It's the wearing the fur.
Yeah, exactly. But even like besides that, there was like I've seen articles about the misogyny that's in the Warhammer setting, the misogyny that's in the culture itself, like the hobby, with the players and shit. And
Is there misandry in makeup culture? Of course not.
no, of course not. There's none of that.
Of
No.
course not. No,
Or
absolutely.
misogyny.
No, none of that. None of that at all. Because it's only hateful, and it's only non-inclusive when men do it. And it's a shame because these really are the most inclusive things you can do. Gaming and these hobbies. Whenever you talk about anything from WoW, World of Warcraft, to Warhammer, to Settlers of Catan, or you're talking about Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh or any of that stuff, Super Smash Brothers. Video games are in Sargon puts this in a good way. Gaming is a meritocracy where everybody, no matter who you are, comes together and goes to the same playing field, and they all follow the same rules, and then their skill determines who the winner is. And it is the breach of that meritocracy, like pay-to-win elements, things like that, that makes people not like the games. It's that balance that people really like. And it doesn't matter if you're a man or woman, you can do good. And people conflate oftentimes just the simple fact that women aren't as prevalent in something as, well, obviously that means that men are keeping them out.
Yeah. Let me ask you, because your stream was like 2.5 hours. So just to give like the short version of it, how important is things like representations of multiple sexes, genders? You know what? There are two genders, so let's just say sex, race, sexuality. How important is that shit to you in video games?
It depends on the game, really. I mean, there's a lot of video games where it doesn't matter at all. Doom guy could be Doom woman. It wouldn't be as manly, but it could work. I mean, pretty much for the most part, pretty much any.
If there was
if
a new Doom came out like next year and there was just a woman, you wouldn't find that weird? Like suddenly they just changed the protagonist?
No, it would be weird.
Okay.
Yeah. If it was a woman from the start, then that would be different.
Like
I mean,
Tomb
Samus
Raider.
was a woman from the start.
Yeah,
like Tomb Raider. You, instead of being Lara Croft or whatever, instead of being Miss Croft, you could be, Bobby
Nathan Drake.
Yeah. And it'd still be the same. All right, the game isn't based around her being a woman. It's based around a character who is a woman. I mean, her and that comes up in the video I'm doing now. When you take things like Horizon Zero Dawn, when you take things like Tomb Raider, and a lot of these games that have, like Metroid, Samus Aran, she's not who she is because she's a woman. She is a hero and a warrior who is a woman.
Right.
Like her womanness has nothing to do with it.
Right. Her character, like her personality and how she relates to the setting and her abilities and skills, all of those things come before the fact that she's female. The fact that she's female is just sort of it's just a trait. It's like, and she's a woman.
Right. Yeah. You just notice it really quickly because, okay, I'm a living, breathing human being, and I can recognize the differences in sex. So it's a physical aspect of somebody. But when you look at Tomb Raider, for instance, Lara Croft is gorgeous. She's very beautiful. She's strong. She is very healthy. She is fit. She is basically the peak of human healthiness. And when you look at her, this idealized, romanticized in a lot of aspects character, who is a woman, obviously her beauty will play a part of that. She is remember, Lara Croft is a pixels on a screen. This isn't a real person. These are pixels on a screen, right? But Lara Croft could be a man or a woman. It wouldn't matter. It's about the character, like the idea of the character. And the reason she's beautiful is that's a totally arbitrary thing. There is a level of beauty that a lot of people find in just being healthy and fit and well taken care of.
Sure.
That she possesses. But in this video, someone says, Horizon Zero Dawn's Aloy is her name because it's playing on Alloy Metal Robot.
Sure.
I
see what you did there, Gorilla. Very clever.
Aloy is not she's not sexualized really, but she's still very, very beautiful. She's a very, very gorgeous woman. She's not sexualized really. With the way that she's dressed or whatnot. And I don't think that the people don't see Tomb Raider And people don't see Tomb Raider and they're like, oh, I'm going to buy this game because Lara Croft is hot. Right? If they go and see a review that says 2 out of 10, this game sucks, stay away, they're going to say, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to buy it anyway because Lara Croft is super attractive. And it's not like I don't have infinite access to all the boobs and vaginas I could possibly get on the internet for totally free.
Yeah.
I know. So I like to see attractive protagonists.
Yeah. Well, when Lara Croft first came out in the PlayStation 1, her breasts were basically just like a wedge. It was like,
you know, one of my favorite games of all time was Tomb Raider Gold and Tomb Raider 2. I beat them both on an old Macintosh my dad had.
Mm-hmm.
Those were in when I was growing up with, and that's what's so weird because I can look back when I was a kid growing up playing as Lara Croft, and there really wasn't anything sexual about her to me. No. It was just, I'm just playing as a woman. There's nothing weird about this. There's nothing wrong about this. It's no big deal. It's not something I have to fret over. It's not even something, he's like, I'm just Lara Croft, and I'm shooting my guns and flipping and fighting monsters and picking up jade idols, getting secrets, and that was that.
Falling to my death.
Yeah, falling to my death 12 times.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was F10 to save. Because the quick save and quick load buttons were right next to each other. Do not press the wrong one.
Mm-mm.
You don't want to save on your way. You don't want to save the game on your way down a pit. But
yeah. So, and it's exactly right about Lara. She didn't even. I think in the first one she didn't even say anything, or at least very little.
Very little.
Yeah.
Even in Tomb Raider 2 and 2 and Gold were the ones I played and beat. Even in those, her dialogue was mostly ugh.
Yeah.
And
crunch.
But her actual dialogue was very small. The cutscenes were very sparse.
Yes. That was back before we needed a ton of them to tell a story. Because it didn't have much of a story, but back then you didn't really need it as much. I noticed that there's a big focus on narrative these days. And I'm still a little bit undecided about how good of a thing that is, because I do think that game developers tend to put too much focus on it, and then like the gameplay either ends up few or far between, or it's nothing remarkable. At least that's what I witnessed.
With graphics, in a sense.
Yeah, with graphics, but mainly with like when they're, for example, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, which relates to the importance of things like diversity. So, diversity of gender, sex, race, sexuality, and even body types, which is something else that you pointed at when you mentioned Lara Croft. And I think that what that usually comes down to is when people play video games or they want to escape into a film or a movie, they're usually they want to see pretty things. So they want something idealized that they're going to interact with.
And a lot of these games they're fantasy. They're not real, and they're very not real. And I really feel sorry for people who feel as if they must be represented by a character they play as in a game.
Yeah, they have to see themselves.
That must
otherwise,
be awful.
It must be.
Because you must not play anything. You must not play you must play 3 games, and they must suck.
Yeah,
but I mean, look at Overwatch. Which of the Overwatch characters represents you? None, because they're way cooler than you will ever be.
That's right. Yes.
Like there's no way you could ever measure up to any of the Overwatch characters. You could never ever be as cool as the Dragonborn or as one of the Fallout Vault survivors. You could never be as cool or as interesting or do the things that they do. And even with Geralt, for instance, this guy from the PBS game, his name is what's his name? Jamin Warren. He was saying people feel like Geralt represents them because he's a white male. It's like, fuck off. No, he doesn't. That has nothing. He's a freak in the world. He's a mutant. People castigate him because of it. Mm-hmm. He doesn't represent me. Nobody represents me other than me. It's when people say that I'm going to represent you on your behalf that people have a problem.
Yeah.
When Anita Sarkeesian talks about what gamers think, she is misrepresenting what gamers think, and by proxy, she is saying that I am saying something that I am not, or I think and do something that I do not think or do, and that pisses me off. Do not speak or get offended on my behalf. I am totally capable of doing that on my own.
Yeah, and it's to comment on what you were saying. I'm Puerto Rican, and I don't see Puerto Ricans in much. Idea. No, well, there you go. I don't see Puerto Ricans in much media at all. Like, I don't see them in comics. I don't see them in video games. I hardly even see them in movies, except for fucking John Leguizamo and what's the guy that does that? He's like a character actor. There's a handful of Puerto Ricans. What I'm saying, fucking Mark Anthony, But I don't give a shit. Like, I never cared. When I used to read comics, I was really into the X-Men and the Avengers comics. And while I guess like the greater sort of, concept behind the X-Men had something to do with feeling outcast and, being marginalized as a mutant and all that shit, even then, I didn't read it and say, oh my God, that's me. I'm oppressed, and these guys are oppressed, and it makes me feel like I'm part of. I was just
we could be oppressed together.
Yeah.
They represent me.
Yeah. No,
Plus,
I was
the
like,
X-Men sounds like a terrible transgender superhero squad. But
exactly.
Also with representation, you've got white. I mean, what superhero represents me? None. I'm a white male. None of those people represent me. They don't represent any of that. I mean, Captain America represents American values or something like that. But you've got
right.
That's an idea. That's
a lot of times they represent ideas, not people.
Yeah, and you can have an idea no matter who you are.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite movie of all time is Masquerade, and there is not a white person in it because it's a South Korean film. Not a single white person in it. My favorite movie of all time. If you have to, I wouldn't want them to. How come you're not talking about how those movies, how foreign films aren't diverse? How come you're not? In one of these articles that I found when I was doing research on that Witcher 3 and racism video was this piece of shit named Tariq Musa, who said it's different basically when minorities do it. He's like, it's okay for minorities to change and tell people to change their culture because they're minorities, but if white people want it done for them, it's not the same. It's different. It's totally different. A complete double standard based on but what your skin color is, basically. Because it was talk about how Witcher 3 should make room for people of different races, which makes no sense at all in the game world. But he says, but people who are white say, he brings up the defense. He says, well, the white people's defense is that if you go to a Chinese movie, it's going to have nothing but Asians in it because it's a Chinese movie.
Yeah.
And if a white person says, where's the inclusion? Why aren't there white people? It's different because white people have the power or something like that.
Oh my God, that's fucking dumb.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Total double standards. He's the person who literally said it's a problem that all the people reviewing this game are white and mostly male. Like that's a problem for him. That's an issue. And the woman in this video I'm doing on now, she says of course it's a problem that most protagonists are male. Like, of course it's a problem. That's a problem.
All right. Do they count as white when Japanese developers make games with like either that take place in made up worlds like Final Fantasy? Are those characters white or Japanese to them?
I don't know. You see it in anime a lot. They look pretty white. I mean, they speak in Japanese and they partake in Japanese culture and everything like that. But they're very white looking. They don't look Asian.
I mean, to me, they don't even look. They don't look at any race at all. They don't even look human. Nobody looks like that. If you saw a real person that looked like that, I would have a nightmare. I'm sure there are people in the chat that would disagree, but
maybe, I don't know. I'm not big into anime, but I do know that if you are getting all pissed off that Scarlett Johansson is playing Motoko Kusanagi in Ghost in the Shell, that means you don't understand the world of Ghost in the Shell. Congratulations.
You also don't understand.
Educate yourself.
You also don't understand that Scarlett Johansson puts asses in seats. And if that movie's gonna make money, they gotta cast a star.
Yeah, you can put her ass in my seat, absolutely.
But
the whole point of Ghost in the Shell, or one of the many points of it, is that who you are and what you look like are not the same, because people can change their bodies basically at whim. Mm-hmm. So what you appear as is not who you really are. The whole thing is, it's not what is on the outside that makes you what you are. It's this, your humanity isn't based on what your body is.
Right.
And you see that in like the Deus Ex games a little bit.
Did you see, speaking of movies, did you see the trailer for this movie? I think it just came out.
Power Rangers looks shit.
No, I wasn't going to say Power Rangers. That's not, I'm older than...
We Will Rise?
No. Wait, what's We Will Rise?
That's fucking
That's social
cancer.
justice shit. No,
Bullshit
there's
cancer.
another one. I think it's called Get
You have
Out.
to stay one step above the blacks and the homosexuals.
Yes.
And I was in the theater and I laughed when he said that. And everyone looked at me. He's like, "Why is that funny?" It's because I'm smarter than you.
So ludicrous. No, it was a thriller by Jordan Peele called Get Out, and it's about this.
I've seen some ads.
Interracial couple.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know
my
anything
God,
about
you
it.
got to see the trailer. It's about an interracial couple, black guy and his white girlfriend. He goes to the small town that she comes from to meet her family, and he gets there, and everything's really weird. It's all like, white people staring at him and shit. And
this facade of a pleasant town with a super dark secret.
Yeah, exactly. And it turns out that there are, like the blacks that do live there are all like, I don't know. I don't know the whole plot, but it looks like they're under some kind of hypnosis or something, but it's supposed to be social commentary about, race and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck?
I have no problem with the premise, but especially if it's in the 1960s, there's this perfect white neighborhood with picket fences and everyone's got 2.3 kids and 1.3 cars and everything's perfect and everyone's smiling
like a
to a
Stepford
creepy
Wives
level.
/ Tim Burton type of thing.
And then you delve into these dark secrets of it, and there was some Fallout stories like that actually. The pleasant faces that hide this terrible, horrible secret beneath it.
For sure.
And that could work in terms of race. But it's when you try to push, by the way, guys, remember, racism's bad, okay? It's like, we get it. We get
exactly.
it. We understand. Yes, it's 2017. # current year. We get it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know. This shit's it's like Hollywood's doubling down. By the way,
Johansson is no. I can't let this go. In the chat, my Joe Ryan, whatever. Scarlett Johansson is not a shitty actress. How dare you say that? She's not a bad actress. Just like a lot of people aren't shitty actors. Most people are actually pretty good at what they do.
You know what? A lot of times it comes down to is how bad the director is, because the director is one that says this is the cut we're going to go with. For example, I swear to God, M. Night Shyamalan, when he made The Happening, I think he did everything on the first cut because it's the worst acting. And I like terrible. I like Mark Wahlberg. Like he's
not a bad actor.
I've seen him in some stuff that I like, and especially what is it, The Departed? He was awesome in that. But no, in that movie though, holy shit, Jesus Christ. So yeah, I think that it's a lot of times it is a director. Anyway, so the Oscars is this Sunday. Are you ready?
No, I don't give a shit about those people.
Who gives a shit about those people except that the acceptance speeches are going to be epic because
they're going to be terrible. It'll be Trump is literally Hitler.
Yeah. And
he's such a fascist that literally everybody on literally every platform can say literally whatever they want about him because he's that much of a fascist.
Yep.
Like we're all being oppressed and boo-hoo, us millionaires up here, beloved by millions around the globe. Things are just so bad for us. Feel bad for us actors. We're all in this together.
And we should punch guys in the face that disagree. Definitely.
Oh yeah, we should punch people in the face who disagree, unless they disagree with us because they can't punch us.
No,
because that would be bad. It's bad when it punches us. The rules are different for us.
That's bigotry. Well, they were already punching us in the face when they elected that scum sucker. That was a punch. It was a punch in the ballot. Fucking white males, I swear. All right, so what? I was still talking about the good example, bad example. So you said it depends on the game when you were talking about how important this stuff is.
Representation of gender and sexuality and all that stuff is dependent on the game because it can feel shoehorned in when it's not necessary. And if you have games that try to tell narratives or set a historical place that they're trying to recreate, or if things just don't make sense, then having inclusiveness to the point of absurdity can draw away people's enjoyment of the game because it is unrealistic and unimmersive.
Like Battlefield 1.
Like Battlefield 1, for instance. I mean, it's weird to see a bunch of black Germans on the European front in World War I.
Yeah.
It is a little bit. It is strange.
It makes you think something is up. Right.
It makes me think. Gosh, it's like they had an agenda. It's like they had this diversity quote they had to. It is a bunch of fucking Swedes, so who knows? They have their own issues to deal with, but it does seem it's very, very out of place. Not for the American side, But for the Germans,
Yeah.
in World War One, no, that's not. And people bring up those stuff in Europe and things like that. No, the Allied blockade prevented Germany from being able to trade and communicate with its colonies properly. There were basically no Germans in the European front in the war. Don't even go there. Didn't happen.
What about games that don't really have much in the way of a narrative? Maybe they just have a premise. I know
Like
that
Overwatch?
Yeah, like Overwatch. It's got, I don't know. There is some kind of story, but it's really just enough story.
It's very background.
Yeah,
it's
just enough
very
to
out
get
of the
you
way.
playing the
You have to
game.
look for it.
Yeah, it's like
really...
fighting games. They give fighting game stories, but they're not that important. Most of the time, that's just an excuse to explain why all these crazy ass characters are in one place. So,
is Rag's avatar nude under the desk? These are the important questions. When have you ever seen me with clothes? There's a reason the desk is here. Let's just say it's a good thing I'm sitting down, or we'd get kicked off YouTube.
that's right.
So, Overwatch is an excellent example because it doesn't really have that narrative that a lot of other games do. There are these characters with personalities. They kind of know each other. They're sort of fighting, and there's sort of a story in the back, but you kind of have to look for it to find it. You have to go to comics and things like that. But if you just play Overwatch like me, there's no real story. I don't know who are these people? Who are they fighting against? What's going on? Who cares? Move the payload. So
that's right.
when you look at this, it's extremely diverse cast of characters. I think there's like 23 or something right now. It doesn't matter really. I just don't care if they're a man or a woman, or if they're old or young, short or tall. It just doesn't matter. I care about what abilities they have, and I care about, what does the team need.
Yes.
It's like, is this person a healer or that it's the things that they do, not the things that they are. It just doesn't matter for me. It really just, I don't care. And I'm not going to play with if Soldier 76 was this big burly black guy who looked like Sergeant Johnson from Halo. It was like, it wouldn't matter because he'd still have the same abilities. And so, like, well, it wouldn't matter. These are arbitrary things that have no real bearing on. And this whole Tracer nonsense where she's lesbian or bisexual. Who cares? No one cares. It's a thing. When it came out, I think Blizzard was almost like they were trying to. I don't know. What I will say though is that there were a lot of people out there.
You think they were trying to bait people, or do you think they were trying to be like, look at how progressive we are? I don't know.
I do think that might have been something to do with it.
Well,
there were a lot of people.
I mean, when you think about it, that moment at the end of the whole story was the conclusion. That was like the where everything lands, right?
The first and the last bits mostly.
Yeah.
But and I don't know how is the sexuality of other characters portrayed. How is their romanticism portrayed? I don't really care all that much about it because it doesn't affect her. I still think that Tracer is a mostly useless character, and I don't play her because she doesn't do anything. So there. With Tracer, I think there were a lot of people out there, and they wanted to say, see, she's gay, and now everyone hates her because gamers are intolerant, and they're a bunch of bigots, and they're terrible, horrible people, and big gamers just didn't care. It's like, I don't care.
No. They either played her or they didn't, and that didn't change. Besides the fact that actually feminists were complaining that Tracer was the gay one because they thought she's like she represented some kind of male fantasy of lipstick lesbianism, gay. Did you know that? Because Tracer is the cute one, and they chose her to be, the lesbian, that people were like, oh, of course it would be her. Why not Zarya? And I'm like, because Zarya's fucking obvious.
Because Zarya is very. I mean, he's not pretty to me. I think Zarya is. No. I think she's attractive.
They're all attractive.
They really are.
I mean, even Winston. I mean, he's
Oh hell yeah, dude! Face down, ass up.
That's right.
But we've got with even Anna. Anna's old and she's attractive for an old person. So Rags, it's time for me to ask you, tits or ass. I'm more of an ass guy myself, but with Tracer. You can't, and it's important to note, you cannot win with these people. You cannot win. If you give them an inch, they will demand a foot. If you give them a foot, they'll demand a yard. Those are the filthy American measurements for those of you outside. But with
our level.
Yeah, with these people, it doesn't matter what you do. They will never be satisfied, and they will never be pleased, and they will keep pushing and pushing until they get everything they want, and then they will break into infighting because they haven't decided what they want now. It is do not apologize for what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Do not back down from what you do. Do not say you're sorry. Do not ever give in to these people, because these people will never be happy, and they'll never be satisfied with anything you do. If you change Tracer's butt pose, now it's something else, and they'll find a new issue with it. If you change this, then they'll say, you see, then that's just indicative of another big problem. They'll keep going and going and going. They'll never be satisfied.
Yeah.
They're gluttonous in their moral busybody nature.
Yeah. Do you think that there was a good example of this kind of representation? I mean, like, to me, this shit's not important at all. I don't give a shit about it. Like,
in a way, Tracer's was really good because of how much it didn't matter and how much people didn't say they didn't matter.
Yeah.
And remember, guys, just because she's kissing a girl doesn't mean she's not bisexual.
Yeah, she could be down with the dick too.
Yeah, absolutely, and yes, I would in a heartbeat. So if you nut and Tracer, and she uses that recall time travel ability,
again.
like, I mean, can she get like unpregnant from that?
No, I see what you're saying.
I guess we'd have to.
That's birth control right there.
For someone who actually plays the shitty character in Overwatch, can you tell me, if you use recall, do you get all the ammunition that you had back that you spent? Because again, I'll watch the chat to get an answer. I don't know, but
what if it's his ammunition? No, never mind.
I don't know. Just pull a looper and say don't think about it.
I'm a McCree player anyway, so all right, because I like being rugged.
Someone in the chat said McCree is my spirit animal.
There you go. I don't blame you, man. Do you know what time it is? It's 3:34. So
it is 3:34.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Hey, are you in the Midwest?
I'm in Central time.
Me too.
Arkansas.
Ah, okay. Well, Chicago.
North Little Rock, Arkansas. Oh yes.
Isn't that
middle of the state, middle of the continent?
Bill Clinton, isn't he from Arkansas?
Bill Clinton. Okay. Yeah, you bet. He sure is. They renamed their airport the Bill and Hillary International Airport. So, yeah, we accept donations from Saudi Arabia.
Call it the Big Willie. Okay. Big Willie. So, so I got another good example too. Is when I played The Last of Us, and not the downloadable content. That shit was a little bit too.
The Last of Us. The Last of Us, by the way, one of The Last of Us is one of the most overrated games of all time.
Yeah,
you can quote me on this until the day I die and come back as a different animal.
That's fine. I mean, I enjoyed it. It didn't.
And no, Little Rock is not a fucking shithole, Jesse.
It didn't blow my mind.
It is a great place to grow up.
But there's a great part of Overwatch. I wouldn't say it's great, but there's a bit where you hook up with this dude who helps you get through this area. His name is Bill. And at the end,
I think I got to that part. He's got all the traps and everything.
Yeah, he's got all the traps and shit. He's like talking to himself, and he's kind of a roughhouser or whatever. And when you get through everything at the very end of your time with him, they sort of reveal that he's gay in a way that's very subtle. And I mean, but not like in a way like, well, we don't want anyone to know that we're revealing you're gay. It was more like, all right, yeah, so he's gay, by the way, And I was like playing through it, and I was like, oh, wow, the guy's gay. All right, cool. And the reason why I liked it was because you can tell that in the case of Tracer, in the game context, in the case of Tracer and with Bill, and there are probably other examples, when they introduce these characters as homosexual or bisexual or whatever, they don't play
very
them
in
up.
Your face.
Yeah, they don't do like Bill didn't come out with a fucking feather boa and like a pink gun. He's like, I'm here to help you. Like he was just a guy that helped you. And then
it's like I can't let the zombies eat you before I do.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to.
And I dug that because it was like, all right, cool. If you turn on like TV, I don't watch TV, but if you put on a show and they almost try to always make the cast really diverse, and they always put a gay man in the cast. And whenever they do, he has to be one of these big flamers, like these big stereotypes. And it annoys me because I've worked in Chicago's theater district for a long time, and I know I work with a lot of men who are gay, and they're not like that. I mean, like there are some queens, but
that turns me off. That is a huge turnoff for me. Not necessarily a feminine guy in appearance, but someone who's very flamboyant in that stereotypical way. A huge turnoff for me.
And
massive turnoff.
Many gay men get annoyed by that. You know, because they're,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they're just not, you know, if you're, I don't know, like, I guess if you're into men, do you want someone who's got some masculinity? Like some, you know, that
Well, yeah,
somewhat,
it depends what
it
you
depends
you
on what
you
you're
you consider
into, right? But
yourself being. Yeah, and it with that, I mean, I think a lot of I think people know that gay people aren't really like that, but it's
right.
like everything has a stereotype. Everything does, and for gays, that's just kind of it. For
That's the
gays,
thing, like,
that's theirs.
I've noticed with social justice warriors, when they are trying to push for inclusion or they discuss things like diversity and inclusion in any media, they don't realize just how much prejudice they have for those groups because they have expectations. They have expectations from what people from the groups that they tend to want to look out for. They have expectations about what their behavior and their culture and their appearance is supposed to be. And it actually shows how prejudiced they are. As an example,
Absolutely.
there is a new series from Netflix coming out later this month called Iron Fist, based on the comic book character of the same name. And Iron Fist was always a white guy that knew martial arts. He, you know, was a rich kid, went to Kunlun, learned training kung fu, and came back to the States to fight crime. It's basically really totally straightforward. And people were crying about the fact that he wasn't Asian when they announced the casting. Now, aside from the fact that Iron Fist has always been white, and that to make him Asian is weird, I also had to tell, because I got into it with people on social media about it. I was like, so what you're saying is the martial artist character should be Asian, and that is your idea of fighting against stereotypes. That's your idea of like trying to be inclusive and you know, pushing for diversity.
Exactly.
Should he be
Absolutely.
that, or should he be a super genius, be really good at math? Like what,
And,
you know, and that's what they do. That's what. Do you remember the show True Blood?
I know of it, but I didn't watch it.
It started off okay, and then it went to shit really fast. But
Let me go ahead.
no, there was a man that was the cook. I can't remember his name. I think it was like Lafayette. Yeah, it was Lafayette, and he was gay. Now in the first
Oh,
season,
it sounds like a piece of shit.
yeah, he was like a black gay cook in the, you know, in the South. In the first season, him being gay was actually a surprise because he didn't appear that way. He looked very, you know, he looked kind of thuggish, you know, and he didn't actually come across that feminine. But in season 2, when he came back, he had eyeshadow.
Statistically,
and he had like a headscarf.
statistically, African Americans are not the most gay friendly of demographics.
No, not really. Although there's a lot of men on the down low in the black community. They got to keep that shit under wraps.
Hell yeah.
But in the second season, he was
Say
super
wraps?
flamboyant.
Oh,
yeah, under wraps, yo, fam.
Yo, shit. Negro.
So, but yeah. So anyway, he got really like out there, and I think that it was just like a consequence of the writers saying, "Oh, we got to make him gayer. Let's gay him up a little bit."
Yeah, let's
You know.
gay him up a little bit.
So, I don't know.
Look at you remember Static Shock?
Yeah, I remember Static Shock. Yeah,
The
sure.
cartoon. Static Shock was a great cartoon because his blackness wasn't like a big deal. You know, it was unusual to have a black superhero, sort of, but it wasn't like a big deal. And I liked the show because he had fucking lightning powers.
Yeah, lightning
and that
powers
was
are cool.
amazing. And
I mean-
remember, his sidekick was the super brainy nerd white guy.
Yeah.
And I
Ugh.
never, when I grew up watching it, no problem with it.
You know, I
no
don't-
problem with.
I wonder if that would still be okay today. Would SJWs get mad because the white guy's smarter than the black guy? Would they
Well,
be
the
mad
whole
about
thing,
that?
he didn't. I don't think he had like street smarts, and he wasn't very charismatic.
Right, he
just
was kind of
this
nerdy.
nerdy white guy,
Yeah.
nerdy white guy who built like the little robots.
He
and
was
stuff,
white
so that he
nerdy?
could- yeah, he was white. He was very white and nerdy. And I never not watched the show because like, oh, the fucking protagonist is a darkie. He's like, no, it's like he has lightning powers. And that's cool.
No, it was cool. Actually, I thought Cyborg from the Teen
Teen Titans, yeah.
was, you know, he was. No, I don't remember anything black about him except booyah. And I
Nope.
don't think that you know, black people own that word. So
Yeah, because remember, Jack Black says it as Kung Fu Panda, and Syndrome says it in The Incredibles.
yes, he does. I've heard. Yeah, I've heard others use it. It's all right. That black people don't own the word booyah. And
Booyah!
there was another one. Oh yeah, Jon Stewart from the Justice League cartoon, who was the Black Green Lantern. Nobody gave a shit about that. He was one of my favorite characters, and the fact that he was black was completely, again,
the most important
very
colors,
little
of
to
course,
do
green.
with who he was.
Now, if they renamed him the Black Lantern, that would be a little.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be as subtle. That wouldn't be. But one thing you do notice is that they try to take characters who already exist and change them instead of creating new characters.
Oh yeah, that's a big problem in comics, especially Marvel. Although I understand they're backing off of that shit.
Marvel's. That's because Marvel's comics are doing shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing terrible.
It's almost like the people they're making their books for don't actually buy their fucking books.
There's a little channel. It's got like 15,000 subs. I follow and support on Patreon called Appabend. APPA.
Oh, yep, I watch him too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's really really good. I really like his stuff. But he talks about superheroes and comics, and he's a anti SJW like a lot of us are. And he is an absolutely excellent YouTuber who's makes some crazy good videos talking about Marvel comics and how they're getting super politically correct and how they're being ridiculously diverse to the point you think that it's parody, but it's not. I mean, you guys Google up Red Skull speech. The guy who's supposed to be the bad guy is the people that every normal people identifies with.
And they voted for.
And they voted for, God forbid. Because remember, when the person you don't want to win wins the election, that means democracy dies in darkness.
Yes.
And violently overthrowing the person who was elected fairly that's real democracy.
Mm-hmm. Do you agree that I've seen this on a lot of centrist and conservative YouTube content creators? They say politics is downstream from culture.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. It is.
It absolutely is. Politics and culture get intertwined. There with that ICXM article about how repealing Obamacare is hurts game devs. It's like, first off, I think that's not true at all. But second, it's not a thing that people want to, especially nowadays. People want to get away from all the political talk, and so when you start shoehorning politics into this kind of thing, it splits people up, and it begins these discussions that really don't have any place in it. I mean, if Trump made a mandate that said video game prices are now 10% cheaper, they would find all of a sudden it would be the worst thing in the world, and all
misogyny just went down in price.
Yeah, but if Obama did it, of course they'd be the first to sing its praises. I mean, this is why mainstream video game journalism is dying, and that's why things like Polygon and Kotaku are looked at as jokes.
Yep.
And it's the YouTubers and it's the alternative media that is taking their place. I think since 2004, video or TV viewership is down 45% or something like that. It's insane.
Oh yeah. And I think the only people watching TV are sort of like the aging generation that doesn't want to use their complicated computer machines to look at the news. There's all viruses on the internet. It's scary. So I don't know what I was doing. I don't know if it was like a southern...
I don't have a TV in my house. I have these 3 monitors, and I gave my TV to my aunts. And I don't watch television. I've got like Netflix. I got the Great Courses Plus. I got YouTube and all that stuff. I got things to watch. All right. I don't need TV to do that. Plus, a lot of TV's garbage now, and I got
like 90% of it.
A lot of it's terrible. I don't watch movies and things. Last movie I saw was John Wick 2. That kicked ass. Excellent movie.
Very good.
Oh my god, it's so good. Honey Badgers. Are you guys, dudes? Are you still streaming?
We are. We're gonna wrap it up in a little bit, Allison. Chill the fuck out. All right.
We're enjoying ourselves.
Yeah.
Fuck women to try to ruin our fun.
I know. All right. Oh, fuck off, Brian. I still watch TV and I'm 34. Well, no, it's cool, man. If that's your thing. I
don't watch too much. Yeah, I just don't. I didn't get too much TV growing up, so I just never really knew. If I'm going to be sitting in front of a screen watching something, I'd rather be controlling what's happening. And a lot of my TV watching or show watching or video watching is done on a second monitor as I do something else.
Like writing. You're a novelist, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't
While
write.
you're doing something else? No.
No, I mostly just play video games
Oh, okay, okay.
or things like that. I mean, I've
Ah,
got other hobbies, but it's hard to listen to YouTube videos when you're doing other
polishing the
things.
bishop.
Um, well, it depends. Some videos will make it harder. Some will make it
Softer.
not so harder. Yeah, they think flaccid and turgid. Boy,
Speaking of.
learn which is which. Yeah, speaking of turgid,
I don't know where I was
I
going
just
with that.
smacked the
I was
bottom
gonna
of this
say
desk.
Steven Crowder, but all right. So we talked about good. I was just curious about good examples, and but what about bad examples? Now, bad examples of diversity in games. There was one that I played the first one, and I never played these fucking games again. I did not like them, and that was Dragon Age. Now, maybe I'm being
Really?
unfair. Okay,
Oh wait, did you like the first one?
I did not like the first one. I
Why?
found it to be too easy. I actually did not.
Really?
I didn't die once, except in. I only died in 2 battles. One was a boss fight that I wasn't expecting, with some elf or some shit.
That happens.
And then
That happens.
another was where I went up to this area, and there was a dragon there suddenly. It was my first dragon encounter, and I didn't know that I was going to run into one, and I wasn't ready
Yeah,
for both of those.
it's a really tough game, and it's not for everyone, but it's one of my favorite games of all time.
Oh, I didn't. No, I didn't have a problem with it, but maybe it's because I made a wizard as my character, and
Wizards are quite strong.
yeah, I was like, I didn't have any
Very
problems.
strong.
I was just like,
It's like
swiping
Skyrim. If
through
you want
everybody.
to just be a wizard, turn on easy mode, just do it.
Yep.
Like it.
I mean, basically, it was just like the
Um,
whole game for me was just me killing shit with my magic wizard powers, and then going to camp and boning what's her name, and then going back out and doing that again.
Liliana?
Yeah, Liliana. Well, that's ultimately what it comes down to is if you want your character to be straight, you're going to be banging her, or you're going to be working really hard for Morgan. And I didn't even bring Morgan with me on adventures because I'm a wizard. I didn't need her ass. So I just it was just me, and I brought like 3 fucking thuggish ass Negroes with me to kick ass and Liliana.
I like the game, and I never felt like how is it? Like,
Well,
did you not? What part of diversity and things didn't you like in it?
I
it
don't know. Like, I guess it wasn't necessarily that there was diversity that bugged me. It was the way they handled if I wanted to, if you wanted to be a certain class, like they had like those special classes that you had to be.
Yep.
And you had to be
not
friends.
every race could be every class.
Not every race could be
I
every
think-
class. Yeah.
Yeah, and not every background could afford you every option.
Yeah.
So you couldn't be now. Dwarves can't use magic, but there's a narrative reason for that. There was if you wanted to be,
I thought it was for me. It was like there was the elf assassin, and I think that you could be an assassin. I might be thinking about the second one. So
well,
forgive me,
there were
but
racial traits. There was racial traits in Dragon Age. I think the races had different abilities. I don't think the genders did, but the races had. So there was no benefit. So you got like it was advantageous for you to be like in Skyrim. It's advantageous to be a Breton mage. I forget what the exact stats were in Dragon Age Origins, but there were reasons to be something. Like if you were the best assassin, I think, was a dwarf, for instance. And the best mage was, I think, elf. I can't remember though. It's a long time ago. But they weren't massive, but they gave you little bonuses. And in that game, you could go a long time without leveling up. So
yeah.
it was a tough game. It was really tough for me because there were a lot of things you didn't expect, and there was a lot of learning to do. Maybe it's because I was playing at a higher difficulty. I don't know, but it was tough for me. The second one was easy as shit. It wasn't a bad game. It just wasn't a worthy successor to the first one.
Yeah, I think it might have been the second one I'm thinking about, but I know that there was like I think to get a certain class you had to be gay, and you had to fuck the gay guy, and I didn't know that. Maybe was he an elf or was he an elf?
Now in the
Was it an
second one,
assassin or
there was a
something?
gay wizard named Anders. Now there was a bisexual assassin
Oh,
elf in
I
the
think
first
that's-
one whose name
yeah.
was Zevran.
That's the one I'm thinking about. I think.
He talked with like this
Yes,
accent.
he had
you
like
know,
this
he was very
Spanish
seductive.
accent for some reason.
He was very seductive. I am an elf from the woods, but I am also from
Spain.
What is a city? Spain. What is a place in Spain?
Madrid.
Rain in Spain. Madrid in Spain.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that was a thing, and I was like, so wait, so if I'm gonna become an assassin, I have to be bisexual, or and I thought that was weird that they had those strange, I guess I would consider them to be limits. I don't mind racial limits and shit on class access. I just thought it was odd that in order to get access to some of the specialty classes, you had to essentially you had to have sex with characters to get access to it, and there was something about that I thought was odd because it didn't feel organic. Because you would,
I think with Liliana, you got like a special bow or some special outfit, or there was like because you could like master classes in that game, and you had to do certain things to unlock the training for them. And if that thing was you have to have sex with this person, and that person is only oriented this way, that means if you want to have the optimal build for a class that you want, you have to choose this gender.
Yeah. You almost. That's what I'm saying. Like it's. I don't think it's an intended, a thing on the part of the guys who developed Dragon Age.
And I don't think. Yeah, and I don't think people care that they have to be male or female. It's just that it is something you have to do if you want something.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not the first game to do that. That's like, that goes back a little ways too. So, but that's really the only thing. Except the Last of Us DLC was a little bit cringy in the way that it handled Ellie's lesbianism. I thought it was cringy and weird, and
I didn't know she was. I didn't know she was a lesbian.
Yeah, they kind of show that in the DLC. It's not. You know what? Honestly, the DLC is okay. It's if it's not going to change your mind about the game. Like if you don't feel, if you feel that it's overrated, I enjoy it. I don't. It didn't blow my mind like it did so many people who reviewed it, but I did like it. My biggest games, my favorites are like the Souls series. Those are my favorite games, and they have very little narrative, and gender doesn't mean shit. And you're going to die a million times if you suck at it, no matter what you do. And I love that shit. The Souls games are my favorite, and the fighting games.
I need to get in. Someone gave me Dark Souls 3 in the DLC, and I promise you, Gilly, I know you're out there and you're watching. Do not worry, I have not forgotten about this game. All right, I enjoyed what I played. I just have I've got a shit ton of games to play all the time.
Yeah, you gotta get on that shit, man.
Don't you worry. Do not you worry.
All right, so I guess we talked about a bunch of stuff. Did you have fun? Would you come back sometime if we wanted to talk about more of this culture shit?
No, it sucked. This was garbage.
All right, yeah, that's what I thought you'd say. Maybe I'll get Appabend then.
Yeah, I'll come back. Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
But he would be really good to have. He would be a really good guy. I found him when he had like 1,000 subs or something like that, and he put a lot of effort into his videos, and they were really good. I'm like, shit, this guy is really good at his videos, and I like a lot of his stuff, and he's kind of weeby, but that's all right. I'll bear through that. He's got good stuff, and I really like him. I hope he becomes the next PewDiePie.
All right, you hear that, Appabend? You have been plugged. You can now mail him your check to his send the money to his PayPal. What's your PayPal at now? So people can send you money. It's fine. You don't have to. Tell
I got
to keep. We don't want to dox you.
Close to my chest. That's for the private donations. So and I haven't monetized it. I'm working on monetizing because the images I use are technically licensed, and I have to upgrade my license per image to monetize it. Rag say it's live, and if that would cost me $700 to do.
All those
which
Shivas?
is, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not that I can't afford it. I'm doing okay. It's the issue of I don't want to have to pay $700 if I don't have to.
Right.
So with that'll happen when it happens. Don't worry about it.
All right, I won't worry then. So we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream. Thank you, Rags, for taking the time to hang out with me, and Allison for as long as she was able to before she had to go eat something. And thanks for bringing your fans. I hope that they had fun on the stream, and check out our channel, Honey Badger Radio. We like to talk about mostly men's issues and feminism, but we also like to talk about culture. That's something that interests me, especially this sort of nerdy stuff and what fucking SJWs are doing or trying to do. So I just want to be another voice in the crowd saying, get the fuck out of here, unless you want to just have fun with us. Otherwise, see you guys in the next